Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Infinity Kingdom guide. In this one, we're gonna talk about a new Immortal taking the field of Norheim. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce this guy's name. I think that would be an insult to everyone listening here. But nonetheless, this is a video where we're gonna have a look at what this guy can do, who he is, and how he interacts with other holy immortals and the current meta. Everything here is purely speculation, educated guesswork based on training grounds and general understanding of the current meta. I don't know if maybe Boss Baby out there has him maxed already, but other than that, I'm pretty sure even big whales are struggling to max the stars on this guy just yet. He is, after all, just days old in Norheim. With that, let's take a closer look. This guy's backline utility and off DPS type of immortal. He brings boosts to healing and physical damage, as well as a low to mediocre DPS. His ultimate ability inflicts physical damage to all enemy units and increases the healing received by allied units. In addition, the skill also increases the physical damage dealt, but only by friendly troops with less than 50% troops remaining, and only for 6 seconds. In essence, he deals a bit of damage, and he boosts the healing and physical damage of our fellow immortals. On the face of it, it sounds like a very good immortal and very befitting of the holy element, the holy roster. I can only assume that the devs are trying to replace the free-to-play immortal Gilgamesh with this guy, dealing damage and then adding a bit on top. Speaking of Gilga, however, I think it's important to look a bit closer and compare the two. They're kind of different, but also kind of the same, and they take the same spot in the backline. You can't really get rid of Theo, can you? I don't know. I think it's meant to be a replacement for Gilga. So let's have a look at a comparison between the two. Gilga brings pure damage, whereas this Mr. New Guy brings more of a utility than he brings damage. If we compare the energy regen, the new guy has 69.3 energy regen stat and a 170% attack hitting all 4 enemy targets. Comparatively, Gilgamesh has 72.5 energy regen and a 400% attack hitting all 4 targets, as well as leaving a dot for an additional 80% damage over 9 seconds, hitting 3 times over the course of these 9 seconds. So quite a lot more damage. Advantage Gilgamesh. What does this new guy then bring? Well, he brings utility. As I said up front, he's a utility and an off DPS. What he does is it's the first time we're seeing this kind of thing, but we've finally gotten a healing buff. We've had it in the form of a passive, vicious I think it's called, but never as an actual immortal buff. Well, now Holy has a buff to healing received, and will increase the healing done by Theodora, as well as the S tier late game talk passives, Tower of Knowledge passives, by a whopping 20% more healing. In addition to that, we're adding, kind of keeping in line with the trend of recent holy releases. Now we're getting another 35% increase to physical damage dealt, a massive increase, but do remember that it's only for immortals under 50% troops and only for 6 seconds. So, in summation, I think it's pretty fair to say that he's earned the title of being a utility DPS, at least he is in my book. Let's take a closer look at the pros and cons of this guy. Let's figure out, is he worth our time and is he worth our money? Basically, the way I see him, we're going to be looking at someone who's doing gonna be doing very, very well in wins and in hybrid builds. He can also do quite well in pure holy versus other pure holy setups. I see him replacing wind, working well in wind as a replacement for Atalanta, doing wind alongside Kin, Barca, and either Saladin or Arthur. Personally, I prefer Arthur. In a build that centers around the dragon healing, slow sustain with dragon heal, shelter, berserk, and then a comfortable boost to the healing received. This could really put the shelter and berserk healing back on the map as absolute top tier passives. Looking at pure holy versus pure holy whale fighting, I can kind of see him working out pretty well as well. When holy's fighting anything that doesn't have wounds, then the boost to Theo's healing will make it near impossible to kill the enemy team. Problem with that is just that most brainy people out there in the current meta are running wounds in their holy setup, or at least in their counter holy setup. This is also why I personally have no desire to add him to my stable of Immortals right now. Simply because there are better setups and better build compositions without this guy in it. Let me explain maybe a bit more in depth what I'm thinking. So first of all, he brings two things to the table, right? He brings firstly boost to healing, secondly boost to physical damage dealt, and then a bit of damage. But the damage is going to be dealt by anyone you want to replace him with as well. So let's try and take a closer look at how he works in sort of real combat PvP scenarios. Obviously he's going to be a champion in PvE, but we're not really very interested in that. Looking at the PvP scenarios of this guy, he's firstly going to be giving us a boost to healing, but when we're playing against players who understand how extremely powerful the wounds debuff is, then this guy's ultimate is kind of rendering him just another Gilga with a lot less damage. Adding to that, secondly, when we're combining this one with the new Khan that was released last time Holy got a new Immortal, then yeah, we're able to boost the damage and physical damage output of Holy Immortals quite significantly. We've got another 35% on top of the existing major boost by Khan of 30% in itself, so we're going to have 65% increased physical attack once our troops are under 50% for 6 seconds. Sounds pretty good, but what are we gonna do until then? And at that point, are we gonna have a Manco on high enough troop count to actually deal damage? Who's gonna be actually dishing out damage once this guy activates his boost? We are kind of replacing our backline, and we always expect our backline to be the last bastion. If you run the backline right, you're gonna have comfortable troop count on Gilgamesh, even when reducing the overall troop count to 50%, but you're not gonna have that on Manco up front. So in this scenario, who's actually gonna be dealing damage? And you can kind of see this if you take a look at the 3 examples I have here. We've got Genghis Khan dealing quite a bit of damage. We've got Gilgamesh dealing a lot of damage. Then the last one, we've got Mr. New Guy. He can't compete with the other Immortals. He does boost the other Immortals, but his he can add damage to Manco and to Kublai Khan all that he wants. But as long as the comparative loss of removing either Khan and, well, especially wounds, but also just a Gilgamesh well built, that's not gonna match with the boost to damage dealt. So this guy has a problem, but are we just gonna bin him? Problem is that brainy players right now are running wounds, and that the Holy Immortals perform at their peak right now when they're running a Khan backline, a Genghis Khan backline. running wounds in your setup is a must right now for fighting Holy, because making Theo into a mediocre immortal instead of the absolutely overpowered healing the machine that she is when left unchecked is just too good to pass on. So you need wounds. All in all, that means I'm not holding my breath for this one, but I'm also not binning him right away. I think that a lot of big whales are gonna get him maxed, and I think they're gonna be killing full rallies of troops and having fun with it. I think that they're gonna do PvE activities very well with him, but I think he has a problem in PvP right now. I'm always happy to be proven wrong, but this is kind of how I see it right now. This being said, I'm also not completely pessimistic about him. I do see two sort of glimmers of hope for the future of this man. One, if we're gonna see more passives akin to Dual Master and Purify, passives that work by negating the effectiveness of wounds. For instance, we could see, I don't know, an aura that turns wounds into an 80% or 70% efficiency instead of 100%. Well, then suddenly we see a switch in the holy meta where Theo becomes more powerful, and boosting Theo's healing becomes something that you can actually do to negate the effect of wounds. That would be interesting. Another glimmer of hope would be something that needs more testing, but being a completely physical damage no Theo lineup. Doing this new guy alongside Genghis Khan, Manko, and Kublai Khan. I could potentially see this doing well. I haven't done enough testing yet. If you have any ideas, please do let me know. But I do kind of see how just pushing raw damage, maybe that could work out. Combine this with Fear Aura. Maybe you've got something Fear Aura protection. We've got a lot of things in Holy now that actually boosts the output damage once we hit a troop count threshold. Unless one of these two things happen, unless we can figure out some sort of strange setup, or we simply get a nerf to an indirect nerf, or a direct nerf for that matter, to wounds, then I'm not really seeing a bright future for this one. I'm always happy to be proven wrong, and if you have any ideas for composition builds, existing passives, that kind of thing that could get this guy working in some strange way with Holy, please join and share. You can always find me on Discord and share your ideas with the IK community. Right, before we end this video, I quickly want to mention as well how to unlock this Immortal. I always like to include this section in my guides on new Immortal releases, and this one should be no different. We've got a Holy Immortal, and as such, we're gonna do the roulette spins for his fragments. It's a quite expensive way to max Immortals, but it is the only way to max Holy and most Shadow Immortals. If you want to rush it and you want to get him in just 2 roulette events, then it's gonna cost you around $2,800. Quite expensive for someone you're not sure gonna work out, but I don't know. Let me know when you do, if he works. If you're going slow and doing cheap efficient packs, stacking them, getting a bonus bar, you can get him for around 1,800 in quite reasonable time. I think it takes like 4, 5 or 6 events. You can get him even cheaper if you spread it out across 21 or 22 events, and that way you can get him for, I think it's around 1,200 and something like that, but obviously that's gonna take quite a while. If you want to read the more in-depth version of how much it's gonna cost, and 3 versions of how to buy and max a Holy Immortal, check out the link in my description. That's it for today. Somewhat muddy welcome to Infinity Kingdom for this guy. I love new Immortal releases, and it always makes me kind of sad when it just doesn't seem very good. So I'm hoping that it turns around and there's a bright future for this guy. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's genius out there with ideas. Please reach out and share. For now, I'm not going to bother with this one and instead look forward to unlocking other Immortals with more potential. As always, please do subscribe to the channel. I consistently release new content here on the IK channel and on the official IK Wiki website. Links are in the description. On these channels, you can find guides from everything in IK, from events to talents, passives, finished builds, and game mechanics. With that, I'm gonna leave you, and as always, thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.